Well, Floridians, we're back and searching for the powerful brown torpedoes of the Florida waters. These hard-fitting fish love to cruise around buoys, wrecks, and stingrays, and they'll crush live bait, jigs, or a well-placed lure.
That's right, Bree. Big, fast, and fun to fight.
This week, we're chasing cobia on the Insider Fishing Report, which starts now.
Welcome to the Florida Insider Fishing Report, presented by Yamaha.
This is the 2025 season premiere of the Florida Insider Fishing Report, and we are so excited to welcome you back into the underwater world. I'm your host, Bree Gabrielle, along with Captain Rick Murphy, of course. And Rick, we get to kick things off this week and clown around with some cobia talk.
You're absolutely right. You know, Bree, the one thing that I'm so excited about this year in the 25 season is that in the off season we have been secretively doing a bunch of cool stuff, and I can't wait to share all that stuff with you. The new products you got coming. We're doing some new things at the workbench this year. I'm really excited about some of the stuff that we're going to show everybody.
Oh, everybody loves a good secret. All right, well, we wouldn't be complete without our third host, Dave Farrell, our workbench guru. Are you ready for some shenanigans this season, Dave? And secrets, apparently, too.
I am. I didn't even know what the secrets are, so I'm even in the dark about it. But, you know, hey.
Hey, well,
typical.
That's how secret they really are. We have no idea what he's talking about, per usual. All right, let's kick this season off in the Panhandle region with none other than Captain Pat Deneen. Show us some cobia, Pat.
Hey, Bree, I tell you what, the Panhandle anglers can be pretty ate up with cobia fishing. And yes, this is a migrating fish that gets them fired up. But the spring swimmers, the spring cobia, really haven't shown up the past several years. So there's plenty of Panhandle anglers, cobia anglers particularly, going through withdrawals, but they're hopeful every year for a good push of migrating fish. The cobia historically show up mid to late March and migrate along our beaches to the west through April. I know a legal fish was caught off Okaloosa Island Pier this past week, and one off Pensacola Pier a week or so ago, and several more have been spotted. So maybe this will be the resurgence here. The last several years, more cobia have been caught during the summer off of wrecks, while anglers are targeting amberjacks or bottom fishing, or off the piers that we get a good push of tiger sharks every year, and these cobias are swimming with the tiger sharks. So there still are some cobias around. Live eels, pinfish, and bright colored jigs are the lures and baits of choice. You want to rig your presentation on 40 to 50 pound leader and fish it with a medium to heavy spinning tackle. The east to southeast winds with sunshine are best conditions for migrating fish. And we'll, yet to see what this season is going to bring. But like I said, everybody's hopeful. And I know some fish have been caught. There's a photo there of Nick Cox from Pensacola. And that's the first 2025 Panhandle edition. And he caught it mid-March from the Pensacola Beach Pier. So there are some fish starting to show up.
Nice.
But Rick, staying Gulf side, but not really far offshore. The Spanish mackerel have moved in throughout the Panhandle in good numbers. It's best towards the eastern section with a strong bite in Panama City right now, but Destin has plenty of fish also. You're going to find them along the coast and outside the inlets. You want to look for turns and flipping fish, troll Christmas tree rigs, spoons, cast jigs, or look, we were been fishing the last couple of days with a little Berkeley, I think the Jukes, little 3-inch fellas, and they're tearing them up on the Spanish mackerel. There's a photo there, not of a Spanish mackerel, but the first king mackerel caught out of Destin this year. And that fish was caught with Captain Chuck Bonner out of Destin.
Nice.
Yeah, man, so they're starting to show up in big ones too, Rick. Moving inshore, sheepshead have been pretty consistent around the bridges and the jetties. They bunch up this time of year in big numbers, and there are some pretty good-sized fish being caught as well. Captain Daniel Young of Destin, he's caught some over 10 pounds recently. Live fiddler crabs and shrimps are the baits of choice, either fished off a slip sinker rig or a sheepshead jig. A little bit of moving water helps the bite. And then finally, inshore, the redfish have been good well into the bays and sound. Currently, the wind and seas have messed with it a bit out in the Gulf. It's been rough all week. But when the weather permits, sight fishing for redfish has been good on the beach as well. The water in the bay is very clear right now, perfect situation for sight fishing. And we're expecting a north wind on Sunday, which is going to make the beaches better. I like to use a soft bait like a gulp shrimp or a twitch bait to match the bottom color. So light colors along the beach, darker colors in the bay. Or a free line shrimp or minnow under a cork. Slot to well over slot fish are up in the bays. And there's a photo of a young angler who's fishing with Captain Chuck Kemper with a fat redfish from the Sound.
Nice. Well, thank you for starting us off the first show of the season, Pat. But it's time for the Heroes on the Water hotspots from the Panhandle region. Pat says, inshore, guys, you want to go sight fish redfish along the first bar off of Walton County beaches if the sea stays calm. And then offshore, vermilion snappers off a natural bottom in 90 to 130 feet of water using cut bait, Bree.
All right, well, next up, we're seeing what our Northeast Region Captain Tommy Derringer has been up to. Tommy, did we find some cobia or what?
Yeah, Bree, we time it right just about every year, and welcome back, everybody. Looking forward to this season, but we time it right every year talking about cobia, it seems like, because our cobia season is definitely just getting ready, or kind of already has started to kick off, This time of year, once the water temperature gets to about high 60s, around 70 degrees, it's time to start looking for those migrating manta rays, which is what our cobia fishing is all about. I'm really hoping for a great season. Kind of like Pat was saying, last few have been really slow. I kind of think that Jim is down there hunting them all down before they get up to us. But hopefully we have a good year. It's a sight fishing game on the beach. You're going to find those manta rays, hopefully with a few cobias on their back, from just behind about where the waves are breaking to about a mile or so off the beach. The go-to or the old school cobia lure for the longest time has been the bucktail jig. You can put a grub tail or not. But in recent years, I've been having a lot of luck with a 5-inch paddle tail from Saltwater Assassin in a variety of bait fish colors. And you pair that with one of their jig heads, a half ounce or maybe even an ounce jig head. You can toss that thing a long way, which comes in really handy when you're sight fishing those cobias. Now, last couple of seasons, I've seen quite a few anglers hook those wings of the manta rays when they're trying to cast those cobia. It could be really tough. So if your casting game really isn't up to par, there is one way you can avoid hooking those manta rays. Use a cork. Put about 2 feet, 18 inches, 2 feet a leader underneath it. Use a big shrimp, a pogie, a live finger mullet, something that's wiggling around, that's going to get their attention. Those all work really well under a cork. It's going to keep your bait just above the ray and just enough to get the cobia's attention and not hook the ray on the wing. Now, we also get some cobia on the nearshore and offshore wrecks, but you know what? The beach fishing is where all the real excitement happens. And one fun way, if you are going to fish over those wrecks for them to get them fired up, is to chum those cobia to the surface. I like to net a bunch of pogies right there along the beach, then go out there live chum with those pogies over the wreck, and you can get some cobia to come up towards the surface and have all kinds of fun with that. And I've got a picture here. This is the cobia man. Actually, he catches everything, but he's definitely the cobia man. Colin Phillips with a nice cobia, close-up cobia there that he caught just north of Poncella. He looks like he wants to give somebody a kiss there, that cobia.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah, it's all about the angles. That's a good one.
That's right. All right. Also offshore, guys, we've had a great wahoo season this year. Lots of big fish have been caught. Most of those big ones have been coming on live bait, which seems to be the new go-to for the wahoo in my region. I spoke to my buddy, Captain Chris Schultz. He said the past couple weeks, really, he's been heading east till he hits that 68 to 70 degree water. He said the bait's been moving around those live bottom ledges in about 120 to 140 feet. Now, Chris said if live bait fishing, just run and gun until you find those structures that are holding the bait high in the water column. Now, he said that they've been getting more fish when they've been doing the high speeding, but really most of those guys are going after the big ones, and most of those ones are coming off live bait. And I've got another picture here of a massive cobia, massive wahoo, that is. This is Alan, Greg, and Captain Chris's mate, Andrew, with that big old wahoo they caught on the Olive May out of Jacksonville. That's a lot of sushi right there, man.
Yeah, it is. All right, let's go inshore, bub.
All right, man. April marks the start of big trout season for us. It's time to dust off those topwater plugs and hunt down some gator trout. If you get out at first light this weekend, we have that mid-outgoing tide. That's going to be a great time to toss a topwater for trout and redfish, actually. Now, my favorite topwater lure is the Berkeley Jaywalker 120. Man, my clients and I, we got to do plenty of testing with it last year, and it proved to be a trout and redfish slate, especially that color you're holding right there, Rick. I love that one. Now, the mid-morning low tide is going to have the trout pushed out along those ICW banks. If you're fishing from, say, Volano on up through Jacksonville, fish those shell bars along the ICW. We can do it topwater or a variety of different baits or lures. The Saltwater Assassin paddle tail rigged on a Saltwater Assassin 4-ounce jig. That's a tried and true trout catcher. That thing right there in your hand, Rick, catches tons of trout. Now, also free lining or floating a live shrimp is always going to be a good choice for those trout skis as well. All I know is that I'm excited to see my clients catching some big old trout this spring. Now, lastly, I got to talk about my favorite inshore fish. Got to start the season off. Can't leave the redfish out. You know, the redfish, they're still somewhat schooled up on the flats, although this past week they have been breaking up a little bit. You know, with the late morning low tide this weekend, it's going to be a great time to get up in the skinny stuff and look for those redfish. The water in certain areas, you know, the areas that are kind of close to the inlets, still cleared up on sunny days to sort of sight fish, but the water is getting murky quick as it warms up. And if sight fishing isn't your thing, this is a good time of year to bust out the cast net and grab some finger mullet. There's tons of finger mullet. They've invaded our region over the past week. The redfish are always into eating those finger mullet. You can put it along the edge of a low tide oyster bar, and they're going to eat it. Even better sometimes is a stinky old piece of cut mullet. That cut mullet chunk is going to be a red's favorite spring and summer snack. And I got one last picture here. This is my man, Kevin Nasworth, with a big old redfish that he sight fished with me on one of those saltwater assassin paddle tails.
So, Tommy, I got a question for you. You mentioned using a mullet for the redfish. So how do you like to rig that, whether it's a cut or a live finger mullet? How do you usually rig that?
So for me, I use sort of a kind of a makeshift fish finder rig. I use a small 2 or 3 aught circle hook, and then a couple of split shots probably about a foot above that. You can the reason I use split shots instead of tying a leader to a swivel and all that kind of stuff is because you can change it really easily. So one split shot if you don't have to cast it too far, maybe 2 or 3 if you got to bomb it and keep it not moving as much in the current.
And how do you?
That's my go-to, and it's easy.
How do you hook that mullet? In the mouth? You know, with the circle hook, how are you hooking it?
Yeah, if it's a live mullet, then through the nose, just through the top lip. That seems to keep them alive a little longer than going through both the lips.
All right, good advice there.
Good advice. Tommy, how's the family? Did you get the girls out fishing for spring break or anything like that?
We did. We got on the boat, and we missed a lot. This was a tough winter. The weather was tough. I'm really looking forward to spring and summer. Can't wait.
All right, man. Well, we miss your mustache that we had during the rehearsal.
I must ask you a question. Where's the
Bring it
mustache?
back later in the season.
All right,
Bring it back.
man. We'll see you later. Thanks. We're going to go and take a look at the strike zone hotspots from the Northeast region. Tommy says it's time to bust out the topwater plugs. Toss the Berkeley Jaywalker 120 at first light along the grass edges and the oyster bars holding bait. And then if you want to go offshore, there's still some wahoos hanging around the structure that's holding bait from 120 to 145 feet of water. Slow troll, small live bonitas if you can find them.
I know. Tommy got rid of his mustache
What
just
happened?
in time for filming. I just don't even know why he did that.
We all got.
He'll have it back
cleaned up our
mid-season.
stuff. We
I guess
cleaned up
so.
our stuff.
I guess so. All right, get ready. It's that time where we head to the CCA workbench for Dave's Rigs and Techniques season debut. Dave, are you ready over there?
I'm ready. He got rid of that mustache because his wife said, get rid of that mustache.
I don't want to be associated with you on TV.
That's why. That's why.
That's right.
He looks way better without that mustache. I'm just saying.
Well, to each their own. All right, then we're finding out what to expect for a weekend in the Northwest region with Captain Jeff Hageman. So stay hooked, and we'll be right back.
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Yamaha. Reliability starts here. Fenwick. Feel everything. ACR. Less search, more rescue. Scientific Anglers. Failure is not an option. Penn. Let the battle begin. Berkeley Pro Spec Chrome. And Daiquiri Deck. Food, drinks, friends.
Well, we're here for the first time this year at the CCA workbench. Dave, we're
Yes.
talking about rigs and techniques for catching cobias.
Yeah.
Where are we going to start? What do we need
Well,
to
you know,
have?
cobia is a great heavy-bodied sport fish. You know, he fights really hard. You know, he fights all the way from the bottom to the top if you catch him in deep water, kind of like a tuna. And they're excellent eating, so we really want to catch them when we hook them. So, you know, we're going to probably use a nice braided line like that Berkeley Pro Spec Chrome there, 30 to 50 pound braid. It's an 8 carrier braid, so it really casts a long way, and you're going to want to do that if they're up on the surface. You don't want to get too close to them and spook them off. If they're down deep, it also fights the current a lot better than traditional monofilament. And you want to use, you know, a nice 40 to 50 pound fluorocarbon leader between the braid and your jig and your live bait or whatever you're using.
How long you like the leader, Dave?
At least 3 feet, sometimes 4 to 6 feet. I tend to use longer ones in case I have to cut them off during the day, so I don't have to keep retying. The longer the leader is, I can just chop off little bits.
FG knot with the fluorocarbon?
That's what I use as an F&G knot, correct.
And then what kind of rod do you like? A long rod, short rod?
I like again, it depends on the fish that you're targeting. If you're targeting bigger members of this species, you're going to want something like this, a heavy, heavier action a rod and reel. That's the Penn 7 medium action with a Carnage 3 rod. It's a 7500. It's 6500, and it's got a IP. It's water. It's sealed, so you don't have to worry about it getting wet. It's got a nice gimbal on there because you're fighting these bigger fish. You can wear a belt, and it helps you out immensely and lets you land the fish quicker, which is better for you and the fish because you get them in the boat quicker. It's got a really nice heavy drag and a strong backbone.
Spin Fisher.
Yeah, the Penn Spin Fisher, correct.
All right, so let's talk about the rig.
A bucktail jig is mostly what you're going to be throwing at these fish. That's the Berkeley bucktail with a bait keeper design on it. It's got super strong fusion hooks on there.
Right.
It's got 2 different pull points. You can pull it from up the top or right at the nose. And it really pairs well with a nice big gulp saltwater grub. That thing lays out a nice scent trail behind it, and when the fish gets up there and puts his nose in it, it's an extra incentive for him to eat that jig. So that's a really good.
I got one little thing I'd like to add. You guys, look at how Dave rigged this. Very, very critical when you're using a curly-tailed grub.
Yeah.
Remember, this grub is going to sink like so, head first because of the lead head.
Right.
If you rig this to where the curl is up, guess what? You don't get the same flow of water growing across, and it doesn't wiggle quite the same.
Correct.
So,
and not only that, if it's curled up here, it's another thing between the hook and the fish.
That's correct.
Yeah, so I'd much rather have it hanging down at the bottom.
Yes, sir.
Also, you can use a live bait, a live eel. This is actually the Savage Gear Real Eel Jig. That's an 8-inch. It's got a really lifelike action. That thing really spins. It's like 1 1/3 ounce. So you can throw that a good ways. Heavy duty jig hook in there and the treble on the bottom. So just really authentic details. It's like a 3D scan of a real eel and whatnot.
Right.
So, and it's infused with scent too. So
that's right.
Yeah. But if you're going to be using a live, like Tommy was saying, using a live eel, you can put it on a bucktail.
Yeah.
You just hook him under his chin, or a big, nice, heavy, double heavy live bait hook like the Trocar TK9, I think it is, and it works really great. And you can use, the thing about a cobia is it's always good. It's like when I go surf fishing, I like to have a sand flea, clams, and a crab. Well, when I'm fishing for cobia, I like to have a mullet, an eel.
Yeah,
a squid.
A smorgasbord.
Yeah, because you never know what they're going to turn their nose up to, And these are the kind of the big, colorful jigs that guys will use. And notice they're all pretty heavy. Some of them are lighter, but most of them are at least 3 ounces, some even more. And that's so that you can cast them a long way.
Right.
Because when these fish are cruising on the surface or cruising with a ray, if you get up close to them and spook them off, you're not going to get a shot at them.
Right.
So it's better to stand back as far as you can and make long casts to them. Also, like Tommy was saying, that's a great tip about putting a popping cork on so you're not hooking those rays.
Right.
Because you see a lot of rays that are festooned with jigs all in their, all over them. And that's not doing you any good, and it's not doing the ray any good because you're not catching any cobia if you're hooking the ray.
And the other thing is if you're using a traditional style popping cork, I learned this from Ralph Delf because we used to throw chuggers in Key West to cobia swimming on the surface.
Oh yeah, that's another.
He would say, throw it past him and reel it at him, chugging it, coming at him, and you'll get the bite every time.
There you go.
It was crazy. So you can use a popping cork as an attractor too.
Yeah. That's a great
Wow.
idea. That's a great idea.
How about that,
How
Bree?
about
That's
that?
a good business.
Yeah, some good tips over there, gentlemen. You didn't skip a beat over the season. All right, there are lots of places to check out in the Northwest region for a cobia hookup or two. So let's see where Captain Jeff Hagman is sending us. Welcome back, Hag. Missed ya.
It's good to be back. Missed you guys too. Cobia this time of year. Most of the fish right now in our area are transitioning from the flats to offshore reefs and wrecks. So you want to look for fish cruising the beaches, passes. Also check around the channel markers and cans in the shipping channel. In the winter months, you want to look for them around the power plants, warm water runoffs, on the back of stingrays. As far as bait go, that Berkeley 10-inch artificial power bait eel in black or olive back and pearl is a really great bait, rigged on a 3/4 ounce or a 1/2 ounce jig head. That really works good. As far as live baits go, pinfish, tail hook under a cork is really hard to beat, or that tail hook jumbo shrimp. Most of the manta rays on the flats, when you're fishing for them on the flats, you're kicking up shrimp and kicking up those manta shrimp. So a tail hook jumbo shrimp is hard to beat under a cork when you're sight casting those fish. Staying offshore, Captain Rob Davenport of Big Nasty Charters out of St. Pete reports a good hogfish bite right now. He's fishing in 35 to 65 feet of water over that flat rock bottom, small ledges. Hog balls, knocker rigs, chicken rigs are the most common rigs used for catching hogfish in our region. Fresh shrimp is the bait of choice. A little bit of squid sometimes works, but fresh shrimp is the key. When you're hog fishing, you're going to weed through a bunch of bycatch. So you're going to be catching a lot of grunts and sea bass and that kind of thing. And if you're catching them, you're going to get the hogfish fired up, and you'll be pulling in those hogfish and start catching them pretty soon. Moving on inshore, Captain Jim Pollard of Big Daddy Sport Fishing reports right now an increase on the snook bite. Our water temperature's heating up right now. Most of the fish are getting out of their wintertime habits. They're getting hungry. Captain Jim's been noticing that he's still having to slow his baits down a little bit. So he's trimming the tails off, using a little bit of split shot as the water temperatures haven't quite risen much to get those fish really fired up. Targeting most of the snook right now in anywhere from 8 to 10 feet of water in places he knows the larger snook are holding up. 4 to 5 feet, a 30-pound fluorocarbon leader. A 3/0 trocar circle hook has been his hook of choice. Trimmed pilchard tail is really helping him a little bit right now with a little bit of split shot. And I got a photo here from Captain Jim of a nice Tampa Bay snook.
Nice. All right, what else you got for us tonight, Bub?
I got a good trout bite right now. Captain Corey Palmer, fishing out of Tarpon Springs, reports good trout bite on the incoming tide right now. Live sardines, 1/4 ounce jig heads, new penny, pearl, and nuclear chicken has been really working really well, and that gulp shrimp has been working really well on a 1/4 ounce jig head. Just as good as a live bait, so get those gulps out there and go catch those fish up. Also got a new captain this year. Met him up at the Crystal River CCA banquet with me and Dave were up there. Captain James Kerr out of Crystal River reports a good trout bite right now in his region. The trout have been on their normal spawning pattern right now and holding on that hard bottom. First part of the incoming tide has been really good. Jerk baits have been working really good, so that Berkeley power bait and the jerk bait and a new penny and white has been really good, and a 16th ounce jig head. He also reports on the high tide he's using a small pinfish under a cork. That's been also very productive. Most of the fish right now in his area are ranging anywhere from 16 to 24 inches. And I got a photo that Captain James turned in of a beautiful Crystal River trout.
Nice. All right, Bud, thank you so much. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the Discover Crystal River hotspots from the Northwest region. Jeff says that inshore, the redfish bite is on the top of the tide. Look for the schooling fish. Live baits have been working real well. And then offshore, Spanish mackerels on the nearshore wrecks and hard bottom. Look for the birds and bait fish. Use spoons and live baits and chum for them.
All right, well, since we're on the topic of cobia, catching a cobia this summer could win you a 250 HP Yamaha in the CCA Florida Star competition presented by Yamaha. We're back with CCA Florida Star. With their new format, more species, and bigger prizes, you'll have your shot at winning a share of $500,000 in prizes and scholarships. The competition begins Memorial Day weekend, where you can win boat, motor, and trailer packages, tackle, electronics, kayaks, and so much more. Registration is only $80 and includes a one-year membership in CCA. If you are going to be saltwater fishing anywhere in Florida this summer, you need to be in the CCA Florida Star competition. Go to ccaflstar.com to get registered. What do you think?
I think
We're back. We're rolling. All right, the Central East region is checking in with us, and then we're saying hi to our Startron Central West region captain, Jeff Page. Can't wait to see his friendly face. We'll be right back.
All right.
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Power Pole, Total Boat Control, Berkeley, Your Fish, Our Science, Bahio, Blue Light Blocking, Radically Clear Polarized Fishing Sunglasses, Guy Harvey, every purchase helps support the health of our oceans and marine life. Penn, let the battle begin. Kubota, together we do more. And Heroes on the Water, paddle, fish, heal.
Okay, Floridians, this is something a little new. It's time for Seize the Social. Every week, we'll be reeling in the best fishing and ocean vibes from your favorite social media feeds. So let's dive on in and see what we found this week.
Yes.
Okay, so what we got here?
Oh, moly.
Ooh.
Are you kidding me? Look at
That-
this, Bree.
Have you ever seen a barracuda that big? You.
Wow. So guess what?
What?
That little shark, when you slow it down, he got away.
He did get away.
He got away.
Go, buddy.
But that just shows you the big dogs get bigger because they eat the little dogs.
That's true. That was a pretty neat video.
It's really impressive that any Murphy ever lived to be more than
God.
20 because we're such little guys.
Oh, I got a little joke coming from a Murphy. Imagine
Yeah.
that. All right, well, do you have a reel that made you laugh, gasp, or want to grab a rod? Well, send us your favorite fishing or ocean videos, and you might see them right here on Seize the Social. To submit, scan the QR code or drop them in our DMs. All right, now let's bring back our rock star Central East Region Captain, Jim Ross. Hi, Jim, and see what the weekend has in store for us. Are we going to be happy anglers for our first week back, or what?
I think everybody out there is going to be happy in the Central East region. And that video that you just showed is exactly why Rick and I stay in the boat
Right.
and don't get out of the boat.
That's it.
But, you know, we're talking Cobia this week. It's the kickoff week. So excited to be back in the Central East region, helping everybody get out there and catch some fish. Right now, when you're looking for Cobia, you want to get out into the 60 to 90, even into the 120-foot depths. And you want to start at the middle to northern part of the region. With the way our water temperatures are right now, most of our cobia that have been migrating through the last couple of weeks have been getting towards the northern end of the region. So guys going out of Ponce Inlet, you're going to want to look on those structures, those wrecks, those reefs in that 60 to 120-foot depth. Yes, there's some manta rays around. Yes, we're going to have some stragglers and some tricklers come through over the next couple of weeks and even months. But for the most part, the main group of fish is moving towards Tommy's region quickly. So I would recommend, if you guys and gals have a trailerable boat, grab your Penn Authority 6500 reels, get some croakers or some kind of live bait, or an Assassin 7-inch saltwater shad. That lime truce or that white one, those are two great ones to throw out there. Cobia love those things. Get out of Ponce Inlet and start looking, and you should find some of those fish. Now, my second species is sharks. Now, the entire region is loaded with sharks right now. I'm getting reports of bull sharks everywhere from the beach all the way out to the reef, sandbars, also out there on the reefs and wrecks. You're going to look at some lemons on the beach. You're going to find some fine tooth on the beach. You're even going to find some smaller sharks, the little sharp nose and some of those bonnet heads. Now, for the most part, you're going to find that a cut bait, or especially a piece of bonita or a piece of barracuda, is going to work best for the sharks. But like this shark we're showing now, the spinner sharks and the blacktips, they will hit topwater plugs once in a while, especially if you find them around bait pods. And the guys around Sebastian have been doing just that the last couple of weeks. Captain Glenn Austin's one of those guys out of out of Sebastian that's been doing that here lately. But I've got a photo here. Even the guys that are going pompano fishing have to watch out for the sharks, because even these little bonnet heads will pick up a shrimp on a jig head once in a while. So be careful out there. Inshore, triple tail bite is still really good right now throughout the region. Water temperatures are perfect for triple tail. And a lot of those fish are in that 8 to 16 pound class when you come across them. Now, any kind of floating debris is going to hold these fish. Live shrimp on a jig head or live shrimp under a slip cork with a 1/4 ounce Buddha jig head that Assassin makes is a great way to catch them. That little Assassin Buddha jig head is one of the best ways that you can get a good strong hook in a jig, but get a light enough weight that you can actually get it to sink slow enough that these fish will pick it up. Got a nice triple tail picture here of one that we put in the boat the other day right outside of Canaveral, and that fish was about 14 pounds.
That's a nice one. All right, tell me about the snook.
Wrapping it up, snook is my last species, and the Central East region is alive with snook. All 3 inlets right now are really good. Even the intercoastal waterway around Sebastian and Grant, Mico, that whole area, the ICW, the Spoil Islands, and any of the feeder creeks leading into the Indian River around the Wabasso and Sebastian area. And then when you move up to the north, because snook are fairly tidally oriented fish, the guys that are fishing from Oak Hill all the way out to the North Bridge at New Smyrna are doing really good on the docks and the channel edges and those bridge pilings themselves. A live mullet, a live spot, or a jumbo shrimp is the way to get them right now. Most of our snook are running 30 to 38 inches. And I've got a picture of one here that is typical of what we are catching right now at the Canaveral area.
So Jim, you talked about going out the inlet and running towards Tommy for those cobias. So you're saying if you'd run out one of your inlets and you feel like the fish are all north of your region or in the northern part of the region, right?
We've got a few of them, Rick. They're scattered around here and there, but the main focus, the main body, the main grouping that migrates up the beach right now, that group is from Ponce Inlet north up into Tommy's region, the northeast region, because of the way the water temperatures are right now in our region. They've gotten very warm in the last week or so, and it's kind of pushed those fish right on up the coast.
All right, thank you so much. It's time to...
We'll see you next week, Jim.
See the Rodan Marine Systems hotspot right here. And Jim says the jetties at Canaveral and Sebastian for snook and black drum use live shrimp on a knocker rig and a 2.0 to 3.0 size circle hook for those big snooks. And then offshore, laying snappers 70 to 90 feet reefs outside of Ponce Inlet.
All right, well, we always miss our Star Trek Central West Region Captain Jeff Page during the off season. So Page, will you please say hi and give the people what they want to hear? Welcome back. We missed you.
I missed you guys too. And you know what? In the Startron Central West region, we have a lot of cobia fishing that goes on year round. But really, this time of year, springtime, is our best migratory push of fish that are coming from down south, pushing up to the Pat Deneen region in the Panhandle. And it's not uncommon to see fish cruising on top. We don't have the rays that they do over on the East Coast, but we do have cruising fish. But a lot of the fish will just stage up, Rick, on near-shore reefs and any kind of structure, even in the bays. And they're going to hold on those reefs. A lot of guys will be grouper and snapper fishing, and the next thing they know, they'll be reeling in a grouper or a snapper, and a couple cobias will follow them. And the next thing you know, they're catching cobia more than the grouper and the snapper. That's why it's always a good idea to have a flat line ready with a pinfish or even a bucktail jig. Now, I mentioned in the bay, a lot of times they'll come in our bays and get on the grass flats, any areas where there's bait, and then also they'll come in Egmont Channel and they'll work their way up those big range markers all the way into Upper Tampa Bay. They'll hold on the Skyway. A lot of people catch them on the Skyway fishing pier. Sometimes they'll think they're sharks, and they're just big cobias cruising by. So we have a lot of fish. And then down in Charlotte Harbor, same game. They'll come in that big Boca Grande Pass, and they'll work their way right up into that Peace River Bridge, all those deep markers out there in the middle of Charlotte Harbor. Some of the best baits for them, pinfish, big thread fins, big pilchards. If they're down on the bottom, you're going to want to put a weight with it. But if they're cruising on top, just a free line on a big spinning rod that you can throw. And then You can't beat a big white or dark brown or black bucktail 1 ounce jig, heavy hook. The other thing is, really, that's about it.
Tell me about the
photo
picture.
I've got tonight is with Captain Brian Marcy, happy client with a Gulf of Mexico cobia caught right off a longboat key about a week ago.
Red groupers?
Staying offshore, red grouper. You know, Rick, the water temperatures have moved up in the past 6 days, probably 6 to 8 degrees. We're up in the low 70s now, where last week and the week before we were in the upper 60s. With that, the fish have moved in from 100 feet to probably 70, 80 feet, and the guys are catching their limits of red groupers, no problem. Live pinfish are the best bait, but you're going to catch them with frozen sardines just about as good once you're on the areas where those fish are holding. I've gotten good reports from down south from Kalen Olayer out of Stump Pass Marina. He's been having no trouble getting his limit. And my photo tonight is from the party boat out of Cortez, Florida. Double Trouble, I'm sorry. Double Trouble, Captain Brian Alcorn. And the picture is a nice limit of red groupers along with some other species.
All right, let's go inshore, bub.
Snook fishing. Spring has sprung, and the snook fishing has turned on, and there's pilchards around the grass flat as well as all your deeper bridges like the Skyway, Longboat Pass Bridge, Cortez Bridge. Down in the harbor, they're getting them on the range markers just inside Boca Grande Pass. And I'm saying that because that's the #1 bait in the springtime if you want to catch big snook. Pinfish and grunts work, but if you have a live well full of pilchards and that tide's up high where you can get up near mangrove shorelines and oyster bars, you're going to catch your limit of snook, no problem. If it's lures you want to throw, it's tough to beat. The Berkeley Jaywalker, I like it in the bigger one, the 110 or the 120, I believe, in the chrome or bone pattern. And then in the stick shad, I like the larger one. I think that is the 110. And then the smaller one's the 90. And I like that in the pilchard pattern or the chrome pattern. Nighttime fishing around the bridges has been really good. And Captain Dave Parmalou has been doing good down in Venice from the jetties all the way to Albee Bridge on his little milk route he has on dock lights and bridge fenders. And that's my photo tonight with Dave, the Mad Snooker Parmalou, with a nice snook. A couple of guys got with him last week at night. And my last species, redfish. A lot of redfish have pulled into the Bay, Rick, after a long winter holding out on the Gulf, on the nearshore artificial reefs and up in the residential canals. And they're out there, not in big schools, but quality fish, 1s and 2s, all scattered in with the mullet, like you and me always used to like to find them in the tournaments. Soft plastics, like a gulp shrimp or that new gulp thumper shrimp rigged on a 1/4 or 1/8 ounce jig head, worked slow on the bottom. And then again, that Berkeley stick shad. Again, I like it in that larger pattern, in the pilchard or in the chrome pattern. I've also had good reports on the west side of Stump Pass, around the Spoil Islands on the high tide, and at the mouth of Catfish and Widden Creeks as well. My last photo tonight is of a happy young angler with the mayor of Manatee River, Captain Griffin Dean, with a nice redfish he got. And I need to go ahead and say it's a good time to get signed up for the CCA Star Tournament. I know it doesn't start until Memorial Day, but go ahead and get signed up and go over the rules, because there's all kinds of categories that young to old can win, and all different species to win prizes with.
All right, Captain Page, great report. Thank you so much for all your effort this week. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the Daiquiri Deck hotspots. Captain Page says, ensure good quality trout fishing on the grass flats off of Rattlesnake Key, as well as Emerson Point. The Berkeley stick shad in pilchard pattern and a 3-inch white gulp shrimp, or a live shrimp under a popping cork is going to work best. And then offshore, lots of keeper red groupers holding on the hard bottom in a 90 to 110 off of Venice. Live pinfish or cut sardines on a standard bottom rig will get that job done.
Oh, that last photo, that little boy was so cute with his little 80s style. What are those called? You know, the flat ones from the 80s? Sunglasses. I've been wanting to get myself a pair.
80s.
Sorry, I don't know. I wasn't born then. So.
Good then.
Okay, well, they're back in
Why
style.
does everybody want to pick on the old dude?
I'm not picking on you. You're so sensitive. Dave is stocked up and ready to go for Taco Marine new products at the CCA Workbench. Dave, You look ready.
Yeah, I'm ready.
For shiny things.
I'm wearing my new Guy Harvey garb.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Guy Harvey is helping me out this year, so
You look nice.
wife's happy. I got a lot more clothes coming home.
There we go, looking stylish.
Looking good, baby.
And then Captain Ron Houston is giving us the 411 on the Phillips and Jordan Southwest region. Stay tuned, we'll be right back.
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Alta Equipment Company, where uptime matters. Ameritrail, load, launch, relax. Abyss Battery, power your pursuit. Rodan, set it, forget it, catch more fish. Discover Crystal River, Florida. Bass Assassin and Saltwater Assassin, best lures, period. And Black Oak LED, never be left in the dark.
Well, here we are again, the CCA Workbench. It's time to troll the edge with the Taco Marine new products, Dave.
Yes, sir.
I'm so excited about
Well, we're going to start with these rods here first. We got the HMG. We're going to start with the HMG. This is the inshore spinning rod. You know, Fenwick started the whole high modulus graphite revolution in 1973, and this is their version right now. This is their entry level graphite rod. It comes with 30 and 24 ton blend of graphite with a proprietary resin. They're incredibly light. It's got a nice contoured butt on it and really high quality cork grips, which I really like. This one actually has a gimbal on it as well. Not all of them do. I think some of them don't. But they have a nice tapered foregrip, so you can lay your finger against the blank if you want to when you're using it. And just a really and a hook keeper as well. Those aren't titanium. Those are just the regular guides there. But just a really nice entry level rod, and you know you feel it even when you feel it against their higher level rod here. It's just a really good rod for the price.
For rod, for fishing, for tarpon, throwing the crab, throwing the big jig to the cobias.
Correct.
It also would be great for fishing a pinfish under a cork for snooks. You know, a great live bait rod, especially 8 foot long. You're going to throw it a million miles.
Exactly what that's made for.
That's it.
Next, we have the Fenwick. That's the world-class inshore spinning rod. You know, this is their high-end rod. It's got the 40 and the 36 pound or ton graphite with a proprietary resin as well. It's their most sensitive and the lightest of all the Fenwick lineup. It's got the tailored foregrip. Again, allows you to get that finger up on the front. The multi-material split, you know, all through here. That's just really well made. For the best blend of balance and again, sensitivity. It's a very sensitive rod. Titanium guide frames with a very thin zirconium inserts inside there, and that soft touch reel seat, which, you know, fits in your hand really nice.
We have, you know, 2 ways to lock the reel into place.
That way, once you get it up there, it's not, you're going to have to stop. You don't have to mess with it all the dang time.
Exactly.
FenwickFishing.com to get you some of those. Next, we have the Turbo Shrimp from Gulp. This is their brand new, all new brand. You know, everybody loves the Berkeley shrimp. You open that 4-inch. There you go. That's the 4-inch Turbo. They have really great action. And when you see this shrimp with the little legs on it, the way these little legs are made.
Look how they just jubilate. Look.
They're really cool.
Zoom in there. Zoom in there.
When that thing is moving through the water, those things just look like real legs on a shrimp moving. They do. You know, and which is really great. And they have that irresistible action and that flavor infused with a legendary Gulp saltwater blend in there. Leaves a scent trail that the fish can follow from a long way. And when he gets right up on it, he's going to eat it again.
Comes in 3 different sizes and 11 colors.
A lot of different colors. Lifelike segmented tail, or segmented body, and that tail, it allows it to, you know, glide a little bit.
Slow.
Yeah, exactly. If you don't have it on a heavy jig head, it'll just glide right now. You can put that on a jig. You can use it under a popping cork. Weedless. Everything you could do with a live shrimp. So the 3-inch versions, you get packs of 6, and the 4-inch comes in packs of 4. So
yeah,
get you some of those. Those things are going to be very special in the upcoming months. Next, we have the Ugly Stick.
Go ahead.
Ugly Stick.
Pliers.
These are the 11-inch marine shears, 5-inch blades on there. The ugly tough grip. This is a nice rubberized grip on there. It gives you really good stability, and when you're cutting bait fish and crabs and slimy and wet stuff, it'll give you more control. They're super sharp out of the drawer, as you can see
see if
here.
they'll cut 30-pound braid.
Yeah, I think they'll.
What do you think?
I think they're going to cut that like nothing, like butter.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Goodness.
They probably won't do that after you go through 5 or 10 dozen ladyfish and crabs and all that. But those are made to cut up big heavy stuff. But in a pinch, you can certainly use them to cut line or whatever. Also has a nice plastic sheath on there that's open, so you can rinse them and let them dry. Also has a nice little fin snipper in here if you're wanting to snip the fins off a bait.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the
Trim
pec
your
fins.
ballyhoo tails.
Exactly, you can do all that on there. So
and a scale.
And they have a scaler on the back, so you can scale a fish if you want to. And it comes with a 7-year warranty. The ugly stick 11-inch pliers, marine shears. I mean,
we're on fire
shears.
over here tonight.
I
Bree.
saw you sneak a little snack over there. How did that shrimp taste?
Sweet. The gulp
Sweet.
juice always tastes sweet.
Nasty.
Okay.
You gotta taste it.
I'll
You gotta
take it
try
from
it, guys.
you.
You gotta taste it.
No,
I'm
don't
gonna let
try
the
it.
fish
All right,
eat it.
we're doubling up in the Phillips and Jordan Southwest region with Captain Ron Houston. So let's see where we can find the fight. Good to have you back, Ronnie.
Well, guys, it's great to be back for the 2025 season. The Cobias, they can be targeted both inshore and offshore, but they're predominantly fished offshore all throughout the Southwest region. Now, according to Captain Davis Olson, that includes towers, wrecks, and artificial reefs in the Southwest region. He also says, 45 to 140 has been the areas he's been targeted, but he says the best bite for him has been in that 60 to 100-foot range to target. You will come across some of these areas where the fish, right now, they're going to be grouped up in schools. It's going to be prime time. And you can catch them sight casting, and other times when you don't see them, just drifting across some of those areas where you might have seen them on top, as well as anchoring up and just using a variety of live baits. Drop back is another way of catching them. But when it comes to the cobias, especially when they're on top, they'll eat just about anything presented to them. Live shrimp, live pinfish, live herring, cigar minnows, but you can also catch them on a variety of artificials, including bucktails, swim baits, poppers, and old school artificial eels. And here's a couple cobia that were recently caught by Captain Davis Olson, working that 60 to 100-foot range in the Southwest region.
Nice. All right.
You can be the grouper. Catches all through the region has been real good when the weather cooperates. 95 to 115 feet of water. But the best areas, guys are telling me, all through the region has been that 98 to 108 foot of water. Now, some guys are using bucktails with squid is doing very well, especially catching larger fish. You can also use live pinfish. But if you're having trouble locating live bait, frozen herring and squid, depending upon the tide, is also working. 6 to 8 ounces of lead. Guys are telling me they're using 6,000 to 8,000 spinning reels, 40-pound braid, and 40-pound fluorocarbon with 6/0 circle hooks. I'm also being told, and you got to be on your game, the lighter leader has been producing better bites compared to using that 60 to 80 pound. So if you're going to be using that lighter leader looking for the better bite, just be ready. That way that fish doesn't get you into the structure. And there's a couple nice grouper recently also caught while fishing with Captain Davis Olson.
All right, let's go inshore, Ronnie.
As we go inshore, the snook. With snook season being open and cold fronts, still we are at the beginning of April, still coming in. We're still getting hot and cold temperatures and wind. So the nighttime snook bite has been good, especially if you can find areas out of the wind. Now, tide really isn't as a factor as long as it's moving. Shadow lines have been the best, but once you catch a few fish in those lights, they're going to know you're there. Now, your slacker tide, the bite slows up. Live shrimp is still good due to the cooler water temperatures at night, but you can also use a variety of artificial shrimp, paddle tails. The 5 to 8 inch swim baits is what I like the most, and I like to put them on 1/4 ounce to 1/2 ounce jig heads, and especially when you got that current that might be moving a little too quick, that swim bait on a 1/2 ounce jig head works well. Here's a fish recently caught while I was out fishing with a buddy of mine, Wes, up at the northern end of the region. Nighttime snook bite is producing good fish. The last species is going to be the redfish. Now, I'm getting scattered reports throughout the whole region. To the north, quite a few areas don't have the grass they used to due to the recent hurricanes we had last year. That doesn't mean the fish aren't there. They just might be a little bit spookier in the clearer water. But Captain Danny Latham's still telling me he's fishing the Bull and Turtle Bay area, And he's still using some of that wintertime shrimp, whether cut or live shrimp, on the bottom still because of the cooler water temps. But to the south, Captain Chris Broom out of Goodland, he's fishing the round key. He likes the live pilchards, and what he's doing is he's concentrating on oyster bars, oyster bottom, and deadwood. Myself, I'm using artificials, gold spoons, and the Bass Assassin 4-inch paddle tails in the darker colors due to the cleaner water, 1/8 ounce to 1/4 ounce jig heads, and the mid-tides have been best for me, especially along that oyster bottom. Here's a redfish recently caught while fishing with Captain Chris Broom. Gonna have a little wind over the weekend, but if you work the patterns I'm talking about after the swim blues offshore, get out and get the cobias, but the inshore bite still seems to be pretty good.
All right, thank you so much, Midnight. We're gonna go ahead and take a look at the hot spots from the Phillips and Jordan Southwest region. He says inshore trout, York Key to Demere Key, fishing potholes and scattered grass in 2 to 5 feet of water using noise-making corks with paddle tails and artificial shrimps. And then offshore, mangrove snappers in 65 to 85 feet of water fishing ledges, wrecks, and hard bottom, chumming and dropping back with small cut baits. You know, Bree, I want to welcome Phillips and Jordan to the show. They're sponsoring the Southwest region. Certainly, they have a huge impact on Everglades restoration and building all this stuff just south of the lake, and I'm grateful to have them as part of our partners, and they're a huge sponsor of CCA right here.
Welcome aboard. We're excited to have you. And speaking of CCA, if you're cruising around Florida, do it with a cause and rock the Conserve Florida's Fisheries license plate. Your $25 goes straight to supporting clean water, restoring habitats, protecting marine life, and teaching folks about our coastal environment. It's a small tag with a big impact, helping keep Florida's waters thriving for future generations. So make sure you snag yours at your local DMV or online at redfishtag.com. But the Alta Equipment East region is coming in hot up next, so get ready to reel them in. And remember, if you're hooked on fishing in Florida, then don't miss a thing. Swing by our website, smash that like button on Facebook, reel us in on Twitter and Instagram, and cast on over to our YouTube channel, Captain Rick Murphy, for fresh adventures and reports. We'll be right back.
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Startron. Start, run, and store with Startron. Berkeley, your fish, our science. CCA Florida, conserving Florida's fisheries since 1985. Frontrunner Boatworks, performance-built offshore fishing boats made in the USA. The Florida Keys and Key West, come as you are. Murphy's Law Sport Fishing. Book your trip today at murphyslawsportfishing.com. And Strike Zone Fishing.
Well, Rick, a few weeks back, we had the chance to team up with the CCA for an incredible and historic event in Biscayne Bay, so let's check it out.
CCA, Coastal Conservation Association, along with the Homestead chapter and the Miami-Dade chapter, we're here to release over 50,000 redfish back in to Biscayne Bay. Hasn't been done for decades, but today we're gonna go ahead and give it a try. Now, all these redfish, they've been born and raised up at the Duke Mariculture Center in Crystal River, so hats off to them. Thank you for all our sponsors and what they do here. As you can tell, we got Castaway Coffee here for everybody. Our people from Starbright's here, the people from Float On, because both of the trailers that are actually being bringing all these redfish, 400 miles. Guess what? They've been built by Ameritrail.
Well, Bree, I'm from the area, so I'm really excited, to see what happens in a few years, see if the population keeps going. Overall, it was a really good time. Would you recommend this to people that want to bring their families to future CCA projects like this?
Absolutely. I mean, this is their first redfish event, my first redfish event. I think it's really important for the next generation of fishing to see how we can replenish and give back to our coasts and our waters. So come on out. It's a great time. They got hats. They got stickers. I mean, kids love that. They got to release actual baby redfish into the water themselves in a little tube and in a bag. That was really cool for them, and I think it's something you're going to remember forever, right, Mia? Yeah.
Hopefully you guys will be enjoying some red fishing in Biscayne Bay in the near future. And if you're not a member of CCA, you need to get signed up right now. We're doing great things. So, Bree, we're not done with Biscayne Bay.
You're
Guess
not?
what? May 6th, we have Adopt a Redfish program. We have 100 redfish that are this big with tags in them. We're selling them for $250 a piece. And May 6th, you can actually, as adopting the redfish, you get a certificate, a t-shirt, a sticker.
No way.
Plus, the certificate has the tag number, and you'll be able to release that fish personally. You'll be invited to let it go in the same place there in Matheson Hammock.
That is so cool. That event was amazing. Like I said, my kids were there. I was there first time. So the fact that they're doing that, CCA, you're on a roll. We love you guys. All right, we're checking out the beaches and offshore wrecks for your Alto Equipment East Region Cobia Prize. So let's get Captain Mike Holliday on the Zoom. Missed your face, Mike.
How are you guys doing? It's good to be back.
Good to have you back.
Nice. Yeah, so we're on the tail end of the spring cobia run in my region. And we typically get 2 cobia runs in the Alta Equipment East region. One that starts around Valentine's Day and ends right about now. And then another one in June and July. Although, you can pretty much catch cobia year round. A lot of times we find cobia on the reefs and wrecks, often right when we pull up. So you always want to have a spinning rod rigged with a chartreuse jig or a swimming plug, ready to throw at any fish you see. Have that on your boat before you go out the inlet. We'll also find cobia traveling with sharks, with turtles, with manta rays, with big stingrays, sometimes along the beaches, and they eat a variety of baits from thread fins or pilchards to live shrimp or crabs. And they really like bright colors. So you can throw bright colored jigs like a saltwater assassin, Artemis shad, or a squid spoon. The average cobia in my region is anywhere between 10 and 30 pounds. And I got a great photo of Mike Long. He got this nice cobia on the 6 Mile Reef. He was just snapper fishing, pulled up, and that cobia popped right up in front of me, threw a big jig at it, and caught it right away.
Nice.
The other thing we have going right now, the most consistent blue water bite has been for blackfin tuna in 150 to 300 feet of water off Palm Beach County, or out on Push Button Hill off Martin County. That's an atoll about 12 miles southeast of the St. Lucie Inlet. And the thing you want to remember, blackfin tuna are most aggressive in low light, at dawn and dusk, and on overcast days, and they're very boat shy. So you want to put your lures or baits way out behind the boat, double what distance you normally put them out. Target the tunas by trolling smaller rig ballyhoo on monofilament leaders or a pink, red, or silver colored feather. They also eat live thread fins, pilchards, even goggle eyes, either drifted, slope trolled, or fished out on a kite. And then in the middle of the day, you can mark the fish on your sonar, and drop down a jigging spoon and do pretty well on those fish. Average blackfin tuna right now is about 15 to 20 pounds. We should see some bigger fish showing up as we get into spring. I have a photo of Chip DeBay out of Palm Beach. He caught this nice tuna on Push Button Hill off Stewart. That fish ate a live pilchard.
All right, let's roll inshore, Mike.
Well, we've got a good early season mullet run going on. That's got the snook fired up and focused on big baits right now. And then at the same time, the nighttime snook bite on the Lantana Bridge, the Roosevelt Bridge in Stewart, and at North Bridge and the Turning Basin in Fort Pierce, been excellent for big fish on the windy nights. On the calm nights, it's almost completely dead. There's also been some nice fish around the inlets and on the dock lights at night up in Fort Pierce. You want to start your day throwing topwater plugs, swimming plugs, dye dappers, anything like that kicks a nice little wake. Run them down the seawalls at dawn, then move to a live mullet on the walls, or work the points that stick out of land, and then also around the mouth of marinas. And then the bridge fish, they're chasing R&R flarehawk jigs, Artemis shads, and live pilchards or croakers, day or night right now. Average snook in my region right now is 6 to 12 pounds. I have a photo from Captain Chris Britton. He sent me this photo of a nice slot snook his client caught in the North Fork of the St. Lucie River, and that fish ate a live mullet. The other inshore bite we got going, April's just a great month to target pompano along the beaches at places like the Lake Worth and Juneau Piers, Double Roads in Juneau Beach, Hope Sound Beach, Tiger Shores Beach. There's also plenty of fish that are still around the mouths of the inlets, on the flats and spoil bars just as you come in the inlets. In the surf, you want to use a 2 or 3 hook pompano rig. Sand flues are plentiful right now. You can also use clam, shrimp, even ghost crab legs. And then in the river, live shrimp on a cork or jig head, or a pompano jig with a piece of shrimp's pretty much money on those schooling fish. average pompano is going to be like 1 to 3 pounds. I got a photo of Adam Miller of CCA Florida. He was in town for a banquet, and we got out on the water. We fly fished the Sailfish Point Flats, and he caught that nice pompano fly on a shrimp pattern with me.
Wow, that's really cool, dude.
It was fun.
All right.
Fun.
So give me some other cool stuff. What's happening in bass fishing world?
Well, water levels are below 13 feet on Lake Okeechobee right now. And that's got a lot of the bass pushed up in the deeper water areas like the Kissimmee River and also around the shoreline rocks in the Indian Prairie Canal. I was talking to Captain Nathan Shellen of OkeechobeeBassFishing.com. He's saying the same patterns that worked during the Bassmaster Elite events in early March are still holding true all the way into the beginning of April. Light-colored jerkbaits and big bone-colored swim baits are working in those deep water areas right now. And then there's also been some good fish around Kings Bar and around Harney Pond in the areas where the shad are holding tight to the grass lines. And you just want to flip those grass patches with a blackened chartreuse or grave digger colored bass assassin skunkate or woompa craw, a creature bait, or slide a live shiner into the pockets of grass. Average bass on Okeechobee right now is 1 to 3 pounds, but they're still catching them up to 9 pounds. There's still a few fish holding eggs as well.
Mike, thank you so much, man. You covered it from A to Z like always. Looking forward
Great to be back, guys. I'm looking forward to another season.
All right, man, and thanks for the job you do for Bahio. I know it's tireless and you work your little tail off, and I'm really grateful.
My favorite. I love it.
All right, bub. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the TH Marine hotspots. Mike says, inshore, guys, the spotted sea trout in the grass beds in front of the Little Mud Creek. Use saltwater assassin, pilchard color shads or live shrimp, and then offshore, mutton snappers on the Loran Ledge. Pilchards, threadfins, grunts, or ballyhoo plugs on a 50-foot fluorocarbon leader is going to get you a mutton.
I saw some Bahio swag on his people in some of his photos, so
yes,
he's doing his job. All right, now let's try to get on some cobia luck in the Casa Vieja Lodge Southeast region with Captain Jimbo Thomas. Welcome back, Jimbo.
Hey, Bree, great to be back, and hello, Rick and Dave. Well, cobia, they're very rarely fish that we target here in the southeast region. It's just an incidental catch mostly. Now, we do encounter them throughout the year, but November through May is when most of them are caught. And they're notorious for hanging around channel markers and buoys where sometimes we can see them swimming up on the surface. They also are found around wrecks, and they also like to follow turtles, especially leatherbacks, also stingrays, whale sharks, and even bull sharks. Usually they're not too picky about what they eat. Some of the more popular baits are live pinfish, grunts, and crabs, but just about any good live bait will usually work. If you don't have any live bait, a jig with a plastic tail and surface lures will also work. Now, the typical cobia tackle for us aboard the Thomas Flyer is a 20-pound pin spinner with 50-pound mono leader and a 6.0 to 7.0 circle hook. And in the last few weeks, there's been a few cobias caught on the deeper wrecks in the 180 to 240-foot range, along with a few on live baits fished under the kite. Average size nowadays is in the 25 to 30-pound range, but larger ones are definitely not uncommon. Got a photo here. This is David Sandro with a beautiful 40-pound cobia.
Whoa,
that he caught in the bay.
Wow.
So
Right there.
that's what we're all looking for.
All right.
Now, moving into St. Offshore, the sailfish bite's been pretty consistent in the past week, and there's been a few double-digit catches and releases in the last couple days. Now, they've been coming through in anywhere from 100 to 300 feet of water, and they've been hitting live baits mostly, goggle eyes, herrings, pilchards, sardines. You want to fish them under the kite, or if you don't have enough wind, which it looks like we're going to have plenty of wind, you can slow troll or drift those live baits. Most of the bites have been in areas with blue water and north current, although there have been quite a few bites caught in that greener water. And also keep an eye out for any free jumping sails. You see one free jumping, if you can get lined up, get some baits out, it's a good chance you're going to get a bite there. Now moving inshore, we've got tarpon and plenty of them throughout the whole region. All of the inlets throughout the region have been holding tarpon, as well as most of the bridges and the lit docks of the ICW. And the inlets, you want to look for marks on your fish finder or fish rolling near the inlet mouths, and also along the adjacent beaches on both the north and south sides of the jetties. Now, both the incoming and outgoing tides have been good early in the mornings and then late into the afternoons into the evenings. You want to drift a big live shrimp or a live crab. Use a 6.0 to 8.0 circle hook in 60 to 80 pound mono or fluoro leaders. And then around the bridges and the dock lights, look for the tarpon feeding along those shadow lines on the outgoing tide. Again, a big live shrimp, crab, or a live mullet will work. Or you can cast swimming plugs. You want to work them from the shadow lines on out. And some of these tarpon have been pretty good size, especially in the inlets, up to roughly 120 pounds. And then we've also got some nice-sized sea trout showing up in South and North Biscayne Bay. In the South Bay, best fishing has been on the grass flats on the western side of the bay from Matheson Hammock south to Gables by the Sea. And then in the north end, from Phoenician Causeway north to Oliver Inlet on both the east and west sides of the bay. You want to look for areas that have good moving water and heavy grass and potholes in the 3 to 8 foot range. And also look for any signs of bait. If you got some pilchards or mullet, that's where those trout are going to be. Best bites have been around the higher tide stages. You want to use a 1/4 ounce jig head, a 3 to 4 inch gulp shrimp in any color, or swim baits with a green or black back. And also the biggest trout are being caught on small live baits like a live pilchard or a herring fished under a popping cork. Most of these trout have been in the 15 to 18 inch range with some larger ones mixed in. Got another photo here. This is Jesse Williams with a nice Biscayne Bay trout that ate a jig with a gulp shrimp, and he was fishing with Captain A.B. Raymond. Also, I'd like to welcome ACR Safety Equipment to the Florida Insider Fishing Report Hotspot Southeast region, and also mention that this upcoming Sunday, April 6th, is 406 Day. 406 is the distress signal that is sent to the Coast Guard from your EPIRB, and ACR is partnering with all of their dealers, the Coast Guard, and National Safe Boating Councils to get some social content out there, encouraging people to make sure that they own an EPIRB or a personal locator beacon, and also that their EPIRBs are registered and that the batteries aren't expired, and this could possibly save your life one day.
I love it.
I'm all about that, Jimbo. Thank you so much. Great report from the Casa Vieja Southeast region. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the ACR hotspots. Jimbo says inshore, drift live shrimp or crabs through the inlet for evening poons, and then offshore, drift or kite fish live baits in 90 to 300 feet of water for sailfish, kingfish, and blackfin tunas. You know, this is the time of year when we did that Sportsman's Adventures off of Miami and caught kingfish, tunas, and sailfish.
Oh yeah, so he's right on the money. We know that. Yeah. All right, for our final region, we're headed to the Black Oak LED Keys region, checking in with, this guy, Ridge Murphy. So keep those lines tight, and we'll be right back. Look at that handsome boy. He must have some good genetics.
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Yamaha. Reliability starts here. Casa Vieja Lodge, 5-star angling in beautiful Guatemala. Fenwick, feel everything. Phillips and Jordan, building critical infrastructure that matters. Castaway Coffee, one taste and you'll be hooked. Sportsman's Adventures with Captain Rick Murphy, fishing for adventure. Berkeley Pro Spec Chrome. And Taco Marine, master the catch.
Today's Power Pole tip is about the new Power Pole View 4.2-inch touchscreen display. The Power Pole View is sleek, low profile, and controls all your Power Pole products from one device right here on my dash. The first tab is my anchor tab. I can run my Power Pole anchors up and down. I can also adjust my speed setting from fast, medium, and slow. The next tab over is my charge tab. I can see the voltage of all my trolling motor batteries and my engine battery. I can also adjust the priority if I want more power to the trolling or more power to the engine right here from the display. And if my motor won't start, I can even initiate an emergency start. And the last tab is the Power Pole Move screen. We took the Power Pole Move remote and put it right here on a touch screen, so you're used to all the great controls, But the big thing I like is I can even see the head of the trolling motor right here on the screen. We all know people like to stand in front of the trolling motor while you're fishing, and now I can see the direction that the trolling motor is going. To learn more about the PowerPole View, go to powerpole.com, and that's your PowerPole tip.
Back to the power pole tips. All right, there are so many ways to snag yourself a cobia in the Black Oak LED Keys region. So let's say hi to Captain Ridge Murphy and find out how. Go for it, Ridge.
You know, cobias can be targeted all up and down the Florida Keys on both sides of the highway. On the Atlantic side, guys in the tower boats are cruising up and down the coast looking for the stingrays in the sand with schools of cobias on their backs. You want to throw live pilchards or pinfish up ahead of the rays and let them find it. A more common way of catching cobias is on the Gulf side wrecks. You're going to chum on the slack tides to get them to come up to the surface. You can throw live pinfish or an R&R flare hawk in any color. And if you don't have any numbers, keep an eye out for the turtles and there will be a wreck close by. You're going to use your bottom machine to help you find it. And you're going to anchor a spot lock up current from the wreck, drifting or jigging baits in and around it. A common size leader is going to be 30 to 40 pound fluorocarbon on a Fenwick Elite 8-foot heavy fast rod. And you're going to put 20 to 40 pound braid on your Penn reel. I have a photo taken on the Real McCoy out of Bud and Mary's, and this is a double on cobias of off a stingray in 50 feet of water with a 48 pounder and a 52 pounder with Justin Miller, aka Muffin.
Nice.
Some nice ones.
All right, bub, what else?
There's a mixed bag of pelagics offshore right now, and the charter boat guys are loading up on pilchards early in the morning and then heading offshore for an early morning sail and some nice blackfin tunas. Guys are fishing on the deeper edges from 180 to 250 feet of water, and they're kite fishing with a really big spread. A good setup for this would be Penn Carnage 3-rod and 7-foot 30 to 80 pound blank, and for the reel, the Fathom 40 is the way to go. You're going to put 16 to 20 pound Berkeley ProSec Chrome on those with 30 to 40 pound fluorocarbon leader. And I have a photo sent in of a nice blackfin tuna with the kiddos that was caught on the Yabba Dabba Doo, captained by James Hagan out of the Three Waters Resort Marina.
Nice. Let's go inshore, bub.
I spoke to Captain Jared Sear, and he says that he's seeing lots of bonefish down in the lower keys with the occasional permit shot. You're going to pull on top of the flats with the current, looking for mudders and tailors. You're going to stop the boat short of the fish, and you're going to throw live shrimp up current of the fish. Give them a little bit of time to find it. And then you can also throw bucktail jigs in tan or pink or shrimp pattern flies. I have another photo of Robbie Bender with a nice bonefish that we caught in downtown Alamorada on a tan jig with a Penn Authority reel.
All right, what else? One to go.
The cooler water temps are making it a little more challenging, but the downtown tarpon fishing is starting to turn on. Guys are fishing in the deep channels in and around the bridges, and live mullet underneath a cork hooked in the nose with a Eagle Claw 8-0 circle hook. You can also blind fish big paddle tails like Bass Assassin, Artemis Shad, and Houdini or Smoke Wagon, or the R&R line through mullet with a 40 to 60 pound fluorocarbon leader. And some of these fish are going to swim on the ocean.
You still there, Ridge, or did we lose you?
I'm here.
All right, so I got a question for you. You know, you just experienced some sweet, pretty calm weather for the last couple of days. What kind of little report did you get out of that now? How is that going to change through this windy weekend?
You know, the tarpon fishing was really good while it was calm, but that wind's going to push them out. It might change it a little bit with this little bit of cold weather coming, but it has a good idea to where we're going to start once the weather gets calm, you know. So there's a couple bodies of fish around all up and down throughout the Keys, so they might turn them on as soon as it starts warming up a little bit, as soon as this wind stops blowing. But the kite fishing offshore is going to be really, really good this week, so there's always something to go do in the Keys.
One little quick question, too. Have you heard of any mullet migrating down the coast in regards to around the bridges, because that's what those fish are looking for right now in Alamorada and down at Long Key Bridge? Any mullet around?
Yeah, you definitely want to have a cast net ready to go, guys. If you see those big white muds, or trying to look for the pelicans, because they're going to be diving on those mullets too.
All right, thank you so much, Ridge. Thanks for batting cleanup. It is time for the Scientific Anglers Hotspot from the Florida Keys region. Ridge says inshore, bonefish on the flats, mudding or tailing, throw bucktail jigs and live shrimp up current and slide it past them. Remember, guys, rod tip up once that you get the bite to keep them from digging down. And then offshore, kite fishing for tunas and sails on the deeper edges, and 180 to 250 feet of water. Load up on pilchers and get out early. Look for the current breaks and color changes and set up a drift with a big spread. You know, Bree, we've got Scientific Anglers. They are the authority on fly, everything that do with fly.
They still fly.
So, you know, I'm looking forward to all the different stuff that we get to share with everybody at the workbench, because it's going to be fun. They got cleaning products for your fly line, got fly lines, multiple tapers, and we're going to really educate people about Scientific Angler fly line stuff.
One-stop fly shop. All right, let's dive into some tournaments going on in the Florida Keys. We're going to begin with the 16th annual Reef Florida Keys Lionfish Derby, which begins April 24th and ends with a lionfish weigh-in, award ceremony, and public festival April 27th at Reef headquarters in Key Largo. Then is the Marathon Premier Sailfish Tournament supporting Mission Fishin', a group that organizes fishing trips for special needs children and their families. Next is the Marathon Offshore Bull and Cow Dolphin Tournament, where a guaranteed $18,000 cash prize awaits the angler who catches the largest bull and cow dolphin fish combined. And finally, anglers compete for cash prizes for the heaviest dolphin fishing in the Nick Sheehan Dolphin Rodeo in Tavernier, with proceeds funding scholarships in Nick's memory. Okay, we've made it through all of our regions and reports, but please stay with us, and we're going to tell you what to look forward to next week on the Florida Insider Fishing Report. We're back, 2025. Woo!
Good.
Stay with us.
Way to go, Gary.
Next week, we are going kayaking. We are talking kayak fishing. It's going to be a great time. So nice of you to join us, Rick. But next week you won't be here, but that's okay. Over spring break, guess what? We got to take Leo and Mia fishing, my daughter and son, in Flamingo, and it was amazing. Thank you so much. They had a wonderful time.
We had
Look at him
the best
cheesing.
time, little
Learned
Leo.
a lot. So, you know, we'll have to do that again. It was a great time. He's hooked. So is Mia. So thank you. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. We welcome our new sponsors. We're so excited for the season. See ya next week.